Welcome to Senior Strategies, Tools for the Caregiver with Amy Decker and Shane Silver. Join us on each show where you're going to enjoy a lively conversation that's going to connect you to the tools and resources that you'll need to coordinate care for the seniors in your life. We are so happy that you joined us. Hi, welcome to Senior Strategies. I'm Amy Decker, and I work for the Senior Helpers in South Palm Beach County.
And I am Shane Silver. I am a Seniors Real Estate Specialist with the Silver Team at Keller Williams, and I am a caregiver.
And we are so happy that we are going into this season now because actually today it was cooler, finally.
Yes, a little bit, finally down here in South Florida.
It's been blistering down here, but with blistering weather comes bad storms.
Rain.
Lots of rain. And so my highlight for the show today is a big giant gumbo limbo tree got struck by lightning on Tuesday and split in half and did some damage on my roof, which then led me to look into my insurance. So I think this was a really good thing for me and also to alert my neighbors that you need to look at your insurance policies, your homeowner's insurance, and make sure that what you have is really what you should have for where you live.
And depending on the community you live in, whether you're living in a single family home, a villa, a townhome, a condo, make sure that you work with your homeowners association or condos association to make sure you have the right insurance.
Right. And so I thought that I did. I know when I bought the home from Shane 3 years ago, going on 4 years ago.
We checked.
So it's about 4 years ago. Shane did a wonderful job, by the way. I would use her all over again.
Thank you.
So everything was in place, and they were going to send out landscapers to come and clean up the tree. So I called my insurance company, and she said, go ahead, let them take the tree away. They're in charge of the roof in your building. So then I called the president, and he said, you know what, it is a brand new roof. It's 10 years old. There's a warranty on it. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. Well, then I got a call from the
property manager
that said, no, we are not in charge of your roof. You are supposed to have an HO3 policy. I had an HO6, which means it's a single standing. No. I have an HO6.
You had an HO6 because you were in a villa, which is a shared roof and a shared structure.
Right. So my roof is shared with 4 other units. Our belief was that they were to cover the roof. So we got our first quote just for the labor. It was going to be almost $3,000 just for the labor to fix the shingles on the roof. So then I checked with all my other neighbors, and come to find out, no one had the right insurance. No one had it. Bottom line is the HOA has got to approve whatever insurance you have before the lender gives you the money to buy that home, and they approved it. So now we have to look into getting different insurance. I want to make sure that what we have is right because we are not a freestanding single home, although they're saying we should have insurance for that.
And look into the association to make sure that they have the proper policies as well.
Yes, because they may have a different thought on things. But it was a good wake-up call for all of us to really look at things, and it really led me to believe that wherever you live, whether it is a freestanding home or it's a villa or it's a townhouse, look and make sure that your homeowners, and I do know a lot of insurance companies right now are pulling out of South Florida.
We have a definite homeowners insurance issue here in South Florida. However, in the last 3 weeks, the state of Florida has approved 3 new companies to do homeowners insurance. So things will be changing. I know that this year a lot, I would probably say almost 100% of people, their homeowners insurance went up, as well as
tripled.
Associations that have insurance have gone up as well, and that's caused a lot of HOA fees and monthly fees to go up as well.
Right, and I know the hurricanes damages from the hurricane and that giant flooding that we had in Fort Lauderdale, was it? Caused so many people to open claims that the insurance companies are like, we can't do this anymore. So they're literally pulling out and leaving a lot of people
high and dry, needing new insurance. But hopefully these 3 new companies will help alleviate some of that.
Yes, and fortunately, and so P.S., the best part is once they realized they had the wrong insurance and they approved it, then they called back and said, you know what, we'll fix the roof, don't worry about it, we'll talk about the insurance. So there is a little light at the end of the tunnel for that one. But again, it was a rude awakening. Any sort of insurance, and our guests today will even talk to you too about just different things that you need to look at, paperwork in general, to make sure your life is where it needs to be.
Yes, we have some wonderful guests with us today. We have from Kelley Kronenberg, we have Robert Segear and Joshua Rosenberg. But before that, I want to talk about something quickly, for most of you, of our listeners and our viewers might not know, and I didn't know, this was new to me as well. This Friday, October 7th, is National Ageism Awareness Day. Ageism is a prejudice or discrimination against oneself or others due to their age. And in doing some research, I pulled up some amazing stats that I just wanted to touch on today because some of it broke my heart. It was actually really sad. So some of the stats: older individuals with a more positive self-perception of aging, on average, tend to live 7.5 years longer than those that have a negative self-image of aging. These stereotypes can often result in less effective care when it comes to health care, denial of certain treatment options, and underdiagnosis of mismanaged pain and depression. By the year of 2030, which, believe it or not, is right around the corner.
Yeah, scary.
We will need an increase of 50% more geriatricians, doctors that specialize in geriatrics. We are actually short now. We only have a little over 8,000 in all of the U.S. of full-time practicing geriatricians.
Wow.
And by 2030, we're going to need
triple that.
Yeah, yeah. Where's my other?
And what's nice is what Shane's talking about right now. Once she talks about it, you can also go to our Facebook page, which is Senior Strategies.
You'll find all the stats
all
on
of
our
this is
Facebook
on
page.
Facebook, and I think Instagram too, but I'm not sure. But
Yes,
for sure it's on Facebook.
both.
Yeah.
When it comes to marketing and advertising, only an estimated 5 to 10% of marketing budgets are devoted to individuals over the age of 50. Okay. However, older influencers, on things like TikTok and Instagram are blowing up, and they polled younger individuals who say they have learned so many things from the older influencers over the age of 60 that they find them authentic and trustworthy.
Aw.
And just like what we found, caregivers have started their own social media communities and peer support groups because they're able to connect with people from all over.
Right.
If you look at AARP has a fantastic on Facebook group for caregivers that I often check out a lot. But one of the things I did want to look at that was interesting was ageism when it comes to the workforce, right? And these stereotypes that people don't want to hire older individuals, right? They say that the older workforce faces longer periods of unemployment, discrimination in hiring, and has fewer professional development opportunities. But the flip side of this is that we're living longer. And these people are not ready to retire. They may have been pushed out of their profession that they were in for 20 or 30 years. For example, I know a dentist who retired from dentistry, but he wants to work. Just because he doesn't want to be a dentist anymore, he wants to work.
And he doesn't necessarily want to be a greeter at Walmart,
and they're vibrant.
probably. Yeah.
They're vibrant.
Right. He'd
Did
like
you
to do
see
something.
this week? Oh my God. If anyone out there watches The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, I have to admit, I used to watch it all the time. They just started last week. It's called The Golden Bachelor. They have a bachelor who is 70 years old, and all the women are over the age of 60. And I watched the first episode. He's adorable.
Really?
He's adorable. He's a widower. He is adorable.
And he's 70.
He's 70.
Aww.
He's active. And all the women on there, oh my God.
They're
awesome. Active, they're fit, they're with it. I mean, it definitely, if ever there was a show to change that stereotype, this is it.
Which would be perfect. When does that on Friday? So
it is
ageism
on
will go
Thursday. It airs on Thursday on ABC.
Okay.
Yeah. I only watched the first episode. This is going to be the second week. And I actually have to admit, I only watched it last week because I wanted to see if the older women were as catty as the younger girls that they normally have on the show.
They are.
They were so delightful.
Really?
I have to say that. They were fantastic.
Wow.
They were fantastic. So tune in because it will definitely change your stereotype of 70-year-olds.
And coming up after the commercial then, we have Joshua Rosenberg, we have Robert Segear. They're partners at the Kelley Kronenberg law firm, which is all over the state of Florida. I'm talking Fort Lauderdale, Miami, West Palm Beach, Orlando, Tampa, Naples, Daytona, Tallahassee. They're in Chicago, New Orleans, New York, New Jersey, Georgia, Indiana, and some other countries.
Yes. So please join us after the commercial break.
And we will introduce you to them.
Welcome to Allegro Boynton Beach, the epitome of luxury senior living. Discover a lifestyle free from maintenance worries, or experience gentle support tailored to your daily needs. Choose from our exclusive offerings of independent living, assisted living, and memory care, each designed to provide a personalized experience of utmost comfort and care. Indulge in a maintenance-free retirement or embrace the support you deserve. Surrounded by the finest amenities and compassionate staff. At Allegro Boynton Beach, luxury meets a vibrant community where every moment is filled with joy, purpose, and peace of mind. Experience luxury senior living at its finest. Contact us today to schedule your visit and discover the unmatched lifestyle awaiting you at Allegro Boynton Beach.
You love your mom and dad, and they've always been there for you, always taken care of you. But now they could use a hand, and sometimes more help than you can provide. Thankfully, there's Senior Helpers, experts in Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's care. We can help you transition from a hospital stay to home, or just help your loved one with assistance with their everyday needs. Visit seniorhelpers.com to learn more. Discover why Senior Helpers is senior care, only better.
Are you considering selling your home? Are you considering downsizing? Are you considering a transition to an independent or assisted living community? Are you considering moving to be closer to your family? Do you need a home more conducive to aging in place? If so, you want to talk to Shane Silver, co-host of Senior Strategies and Senior Real Estate Specialist. Shane and her real estate team are extremely knowledgeable and experienced when it comes to helping seniors and their families make life's important transitions. Shane will guide you every step of the way, making the transition as stress-free as possible. To schedule a no-obligation consultation, call 561-735-3030.
About 60 million baby boomers refuse to leave a financial burden on their loved ones, but 70% of them have unsuitable life insurance or are unaware that it may expire. With final expenses significantly rising, don't leave your family unprotected. If you have an old policy or purchased guaranteed coverage, don't take any risks. Gain peace of mind with a policy review. Mention Senior Strategies and it's free. Call Pivotal Life today at 561-412-5500. That's 561-412-5500, because family and legacy are worth protecting.
Welcome back to Senior Strategies with Amy and Shane. Coming up next are more tools and resources you will need to make your journey of caregiving a little easier. For more information or to be a guest on the show, please contact us at 561-800-6654. And now, on with the show.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us here on Segear Strategies. Today we have with us Robert Segear and Joshua Rosenberg from the Kelley Kronenberg Law Group, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves to us today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Shane. Appreciate the intro. So
tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Sure. So my name is Josh Rosenberg. I am a native Floridian. I am the managing partner for the Probate Guardianship and Estate Planning Practice Group at Kelley Kronenberg. I moved my practice over to Kelley Kronenberg about 4 or 5 years ago. And we brought together a group of professionals that only do probate, guardianship, and estate planning work. And what that means for our clients is that we're able to service them not only with the drafting of the documents, but if there are issues or problems that come about, whether it's on the probate side, the guardianship side, we're able to go into court and be able to deal with those problems as well. I think in addition to that, because of the experience on both sides of the table, so to speak, of drafting as well as doing the litigation, we're also able to look at people's documents and help them draft around problems before they even get there. As I developed our practice group, as I got together, I think what I would argue is the best team of people that does that kind of legal work in South Florida, I made a sort of surprising discovery, and that is that there's nobody doing what we do in the South Florida area, but then simultaneously having an office in the Northeast, New York and New Jersey. And the reason why I was surprised about that is because other firms have relationships. They have attorneys they refer work to, but it's not the same people, it's not the same strategies, and there's different ways of handling problems. And for me, having a moral compass sort of pointed in the right direction, making sure that the idea is to help people, to make sure that we're solving problems, is what's tantamount to getting the best results. It's the best for the seniors that are involved in the cases, it's best for the families, and ultimately it's best for our clients. And so Robert was an associate that worked with me long ago. And for some reason he decided to raise his family in New York and New Jersey. He's from that area. And so when I had an opportunity to open up an office in the New York and New Jersey area, Robert was the first person I spoke with. And so we brought him in to actually open an office in New York and New Jersey. And so we've been fortunate enough now for, I guess, almost 2 or 3 years to have that sort of multi-city practice put together. And it's been a real benefit for us.
It's been great. So I'm Robert Segear. I'm an attorney in New York, New Jersey, and Florida. And like Josh described, we are one-stop shopping for anybody who has issues that interrelate between the Northeast and Florida. It affects many people. Obviously snowbirds being affected by that largely. So we're one-stop shopping for those people. You don't have to get a new attorney. You don't have to have 2 different attorneys. You don't have to wait 6 months until you're up north or back down south to meet with your attorney. We're available 365 both in the Northeast and down in Florida.
How does the estate tax get involved with this, though? Because we have something different down here than up there. So if you've got somebody that's got a home there and a home here.
Well, we see that a lot.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people who are just like you said, snowbirds, and I think that continuity is so important to have your support group. We talk about a circle of care, right? Your attorneys are included in that circle of care, and that's so important. And we have so many people that are snowbirds here and living in 2 places. So what do you recommend for that?
Shannon, I think that circle of care idea, that's a term I've not heard, but that's a great term because we think of ourselves as more in an area of elder services, right? Meaning that there are all kinds of people that look to us to be almost what I would say like the hub in the wheel, right?
Right.
And so if they need a family law issue, if they need care services, if they need a realtor, if they need aid service, if they need care management, we are the ones that they look to find out what the best resources are.
Absolutely.
So, for example, you ask about the estate tax. So there is a federal estate tax. Sometimes it's referred to as the death tax. And just as a basic concept, that means, in a very simple term, the amount of money you can die with and never pay our collective Uncle Sam 1 red cent. Today, that number is above $14.5 million. What that means is that as a married couple, you can double that deduction. So when you hear about the death tax or the estate tax, sometimes it's used to kind of make constituents afraid of what that means. The reality is that it affects less than 0.5% of the population today. So it really doesn't affect very many people. But there is also a state estate tax. And so I can tell you one of the reasons why Robert and I decided to make this thing work is my wife is a New York native. My wife grew up in Oceanside, Long Island. And my wife went to Syracuse. And so we had a friend of ours that called us and she said, my dad is kind of doing this transient life between New York and New Jersey and Florida. And he's got an issue about his homestead and he's got an issue about taxes. What do we do about these things? So the first person I called, Robert and I weren't working the other times, I called Rob and I said, I don't know what to do here. Help me, right? Help me help them. I know my lane, I know my sandbox, and I don't get outside of it. And so Robert was very able and efficiently to help them understand a little bit about the estate tax issues because in Florida, there is no state estate tax. There is a federal estate tax, which is that large $14+ million number that we're talking about. But in New York, you guys have a state estate tax.
It's effectively half in New York. And so, and the federal, by the way, at the end of 2025 is going to be reduced in half and will be the same number as what New York has. So it's an issue. So if you're a Florida resident, you only have to worry about federal estate tax, right? Which Josh talked about is a very large number. But if you're a New York resident, you have to worry about New York state estate tax, which is half, right? We're talking about $5-6 million. To give away at your passing, and when you start factoring in how much does a house cost in New York, plus your retirement plan, plus a life insurance policy, people can start, their assets can start getting close to that limit without even really feeling wealthy or, or anything like that. So that's an important thing for people to realize as they start to spend more time in Florida, and an important thing to consider is, do I want to become a Florida resident?
Right.
Well, that's an important thing to know about, an important thing to consider.
It's huge, and I think too, when I bought the house, when Shane helped me find the house I have, it was somebody's vacation home. It was
correct.
So it wasn't, and I didn't.
They didn't have it homesteaded.
It didn't have it homesteaded. I didn't even know what that meant.
Right.
So you have to apply then to get it homesteaded, and then
Right.
I think you have to wait a year. You're there a year before.
Once you own the house a year. But when we talk about homestead, there are certain criteria you have to meet, and I want our listeners to understand that.
For sure.
Right?
I just want to bring one point back that not to gloss over, because
Right.
Rob brought up about the estate tax going down in 2025. Let's just be real clear about something, because it's a really big opportunity, and it's also something that people need to be aware of. Never in the history of the United States has the estate tax limit actually gone down. It's only gone up. The concept was real simple. It was Joe Farmer, right? So the guy has a farm. The person next door sells his farm, and they put up, or her farm, and they put up a multi-family unit. Well, the government would base the valuation of now my farm on the best use off of now that development.
Right.
So what happened is that you've heard the term sell the farm, right? Where does that come from? It comes from the concept that Uncle Sam came in and said, well, you've got this farm that's now valued at this high number, and if the family only had the value of the dirt, they didn't have the money to pay it. They'd have to sell the farm to pay the estate tax. So what's really amazing that's going on right now is, and the reason why the estate tax is important, some of your listeners may be going, I wish I would win the lottery and then I'd have that problem, but here's what's interesting about it. The lowest possible tax rate for the estate tax is 38%. That means it's 38% of every dollar over the amount that you're allowed to pass away with.
So $400,000 for every $1 million you're over the estate tax.
Correct. So if you are even close to having the problem, it's real worthwhile to do it. But what Rob was saying is that the limit is going to go down in 2025. First time in the history of the country. If you do the planning today, you're grandfathered into the current numbers. So if you think that your family, including your home, your businesses, possibly your life insurance, your car collection, and the Picasso that you have in your house will accumulate to those values of $5, $6, $7 million in total, then you need to talk about doing the planning now to take advantage of these much higher limits. Because if you don't, the difference literally can be $400,000 on a $1 million change. Right. So as your valuations escalate, if you don't take advantage of these numbers now, if you don't take advantage of the estate tax limits now, you risk paying a very large tax. And I'm dealing with a family today. I have a case right now where the family business was valued at about $15 million about 5 years ago when Grandma died. They did zero planning when Grandma passed away. And so on Grandma's estate, they ended up paying a couple $1 million of estate tax. Then, unfortunately, they didn't go to somebody who was educated enough to say, the business is now exploding in value, and when it goes to the second generation, it's going to be worth even more. Then, unfortunately, what happens is that one of the children of the mother, he passed away. So now they're paying another, I think it's like $4 or $5 million of estate tax on the deceased person's evaluation. The craziest part of that story, if they had simply done the type of basic planning, this is not crazy planning, it's not offshore planning, it's things that still allow you to control your money. If they had done that basic sort of planning when Grandma passed away, when the mother, the matriarch passed away, they would have paid zero tax.
So how do you fix that?
The answer is you pay Uncle Sam at that point.
You can't.
All we can do at that point is
fix
counsel.
It going forward.
Correct.
For the beneficiaries, we'll do the proper planning for them.
Right. And in that case, we represent the children of the son that passed away, and so we were able to counsel them, and we're putting a plan in place so that they and their families will never again really have to deal with these issues. So it's really important. This is a unique time in an estate tax situation where the limit is likely to go down, because what's crazy about what Rob's talking about is that if the federal government does what they always do, which we all know the federal government does nothing, right? So if they do nothing, then that limit automatically goes down. So it's not like Congress has to do something for it to go down. It's automatically going to go down.
And people don't realize today that their home values have exploded. If
Absolutely.
they bought their house 20, 30
especially
years
in South
ago,
Florida.
Yeah, especially right here in South Florida, their home values have exploded. And we've said time and time again that you really, please don't go to the internet. Please don't go to the internet. Please see a professional, because they have ways that they can protect your assets, and not every case is the same.
Right.
Not
for
every
sure.
case is the same.
Well, I will tell you that going to the internet is one of the best sources, referral sources for us for our for the litigation work that we do, because unfortunately people try and save a couple dollars and
then
think
it's a
they can do it
disaster.
themselves.
Right.
And more times than not, it's a disaster, and it costs 10, 20 times as much to fix after they pass.
Yeah.
So that's a great referral source for us.
I would say, to put it in perspective, to do foundational planning that we're talking about to protect your family, to protect your assets, make sure that your wishes are taken care of. You're talking about a couple $1,000s. You're talking about probably under $10,000 in most cases. You're talking about under $5,000 in even more cases.
And what time in your life do you feel, or what's the best age, or where you are in your life to start this?
The earlier the better.
And I would break it down this way. There are the big moments in life, right? You get married,
right?
You have kids,
right?
You get divorced, you know, you retire. Your kids go from being minors to adults. People who you're close to, they pass away or they get ill. Those are all times to revisit your documents and make sure that they reflect your current wishes as well as the current laws.
And I think Shane brought up a really good point, which is that as people move, right, and they come into Florida, any attorney that tells you that your documents from another state aren't going to work in Florida, it's most likely inaccurate. Most documents, powers of attorney, healthcare surrogate documents, wills, trusts from one state will most likely work in Florida. But here's what the problem is. It's where the rubber hits the road. And so when you go to a bank, when you go to a hospital, when you go to a medical provider and you present them with what I'll call foreign documents, ones from some other state, these people are not lawyers. They are professionals in the in the medical field or in business. And if they don't see a form they're familiar with, the easiest answer is, oh, sorry, we don't take this. And what I think is really important for your readers to, or for your listeners to understand, based off of what's the best time, here's the problem. We get call after call after call of people telling us, I want to do estate planning for my mom and dad. And our first question is, tell me about mom and dad. And their first answer is, oh, well, they have bad dementia, and you know, we just want to make sure there's not a problem. And the first answer that we have to tell them, we have to deliver bad news immediately, which is, sorry, mom and dad can't do planning at this point. And so then you're left with a court process of having to go through guardianship. The average probate and guardianship litigation that we see, easily you're talking $60,000, $100,000. The planning costs are so exponentially lower. We are actually arguing ourselves out of making any money by doing the planning, but it's the right thing to do for people, and it will. I think the best thing is that it preserves the family unit.
It does, and it's being proactive. But I have to say, working with senior helpers and dealing with older couples or older couples that the kids are trying to take care of them, the first thing I ask is, who is your power of attorney? Who is your healthcare surrogate? Well, we're not ready for that yet. We haven't really decided. We don't really know. And the kids are like, Dad, you have to make the daughter, make it me, make it. It doesn't matter who it is. Someone needs to be in charge at that time. And I tell them, it's not that they're not going to take your life away from you and start making decisions that you don't want.
That's what they're afraid of.
So they hold off doing it until it's an emergency, and then they run in on a crisis saying, help, we need to be power of attorney.
I would say the biggest mind shift that people need to have is they say, well, if I die or if I get sick. And unfortunately, it's not an if. All of us are going to pass away, and it's so when I pass away. So you're not doing yourself any favors by denying that fact and putting off the planning to another day. It's a certainty that 100% of us and everybody we know, unfortunately, is going to pass away one day. So that the time is, while you're healthy, to put your planning in place.
And your family will thank you for it later.
Absolutely.
It is a huge gift that you can
and
give
then
your
you
family.
get to make the decisions of who makes decisions for you. You get to make those while you're still healthy and thinking about it, versus now you've got a guardianship forced on you, or a family member you don't want to make decisions
and Amy, I think you brought up something that I think comes back to doing it, not just doing it, but doing it the right way, right? And so, like, the thing is you're talking about, you have a sister and a brother who are saying, Mom and Dad, we want to help you. If you go on the internet, or if you talk to somebody that doesn't do this kind of work, they'll say, oh, the both of you can do it. Yeah, that works really well until somebody has to make a decision. And when there's no tie, you have no tiebreak there. And so it's important not just to do it, but it's to do it the right way. Because if you don't do it, or you do it the wrong way, those litigation costs that we're talking about, we see them every day, all the time, and it is just absolutely unnecessary in most cases.
Yes.
And it's not only important to just pick somebody and but it's to pick the right people.
Yes.
To pick somebody that you know you have confidence in, because we can draft the best documents in the entire world, but if it's not the right person, it's not going to work.
Worthless.
And again, it comes down to working with professionals. You wouldn't go to a general practitioner if you had cancer. You'd go to an oncologist.
Exactly.
If you have a estate planning issue, or you think you might, if you have an elder care issue, or you think you might, you've got to go to people that do this every day, all day.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's really important.
And we're going to talk more about that after the commercial, so come back and join us.
We'll see you after the commercial.
About 60 million baby boomers refuse to leave a financial burden on their loved ones. But 70% of them have unsuitable life insurance or are unaware that it may expire. With final expenses significantly rising, don't leave your family unprotected. If you have an old policy or purchased guaranteed coverage, don't take any risks. Gain peace of mind with a policy review. Mention Senior Strategies and it's free. Call Pivotal Life today at 561-412-5500. That's 561-412-5500. Because family and legacy are worth protecting.
Are you considering selling your home? Are you considering downsizing? Are you considering a transition to an independent or assisted living community? Are you considering moving to be closer to your family? Do you need a home more conducive to aging in place? If so, you want to talk to Shane Silver, co-host of Senior Strategies and Senior Real Estate Specialist. Shane and her real estate team are extremely knowledgeable and experienced when it comes to helping seniors and their families make life's important transitions. Shane will guide you every step of the way, making the transition as stress-free as possible. To schedule a no-obligation consultation, call 561-735-3030.
You love your mom and dad, and they've always been there for you, always taken care of you. But now they could use a hand, and sometimes more help than you can provide. Thankfully, there's Senior Helpers. Experts in Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's care. We can help you transition from a hospital stay to home, or just help your loved one with assistance with their everyday needs. Visit seniorhelpers.com to learn more. Discover why Senior Helpers is senior care, only better.
Welcome to Allegro Boynton Beach, the epitome of luxury senior living. Discover a lifestyle free from maintenance worries, or experience gentle support tailored to your daily needs. Choose from our exclusive offerings of independent living, assisted living, and memory care, each designed to provide a personalized experience of utmost comfort and care. Indulge in a maintenance-free retirement or embrace the support you deserve. Surrounded by the finest amenities and compassionate staff. At Allegro Boynton Beach, luxury meets a vibrant community where every moment is filled with joy, purpose, and peace of mind. Experience luxury senior living at its finest. Contact us today to schedule your visit and discover the unmatched lifestyle awaiting you at Allegro Boynton Beach.
Welcome back to Senior Strategies with Amy and Shane. Coming up next are more tools and resources you will need to make your journey of caregiving a little easier. For more information or to be a guest on the show, please contact us at 561-800-6654. And now, on with the show.
Welcome back to the show. We have so much more we want to talk about, so we want to be able to get as much in as we can before the show is over. But I want to revisit, first of all, if somebody needs to get in touch with you, what's the phone number that they need to call?
So they can reach us at 866-407-2324. That's 866-407-2324.
Good.
And,
awesome.
We're happy to help you guys. And, if we're able to work together with people, certainly we connect with you by our cell phone, text messages. We're younger people. I'm 46 years old, but I'm happy to communicate with you in whatever means is best for you.
So too young to be on the senior bachelor show, huh?
Sadly, yes.
Way too young for that.
Now I know why my application was refused.
I'm telling you, you have to watch
So
it.
I want to just rear back a little bit where we were
Yes.
talking about becoming a Florida resident. And in my mind, I thought it was just as simple, you had to wait so many months. But what really is the steps for them to become a Florida resident?
requirements.
And the
So,
requirements.
Yeah, there's two tests, right? There's an objective test, which is just counting your days, which most people know about, right? 6 months in a day. And when you're going to do that, you want to give yourself some buffer days. I like to advise our clients to plan on being in Florida an extra 2 weeks in case life happens, right? A relative gets sick in the hospital or whatever it may be. You want to build in a significant amount of buffer days. The second part is the tricky part, and that's a subjective part, which is especially if you keep your home, like let's say you keep your home in Long Island and you move to Florida. Well, where do you keep your wedding album? Where are you registered to vote? Where are your cars registered? Do you have New York plates or Florida plates? Where do you go? Where do you go to the gym? Even though you get your bank statements electronically, did you update your address? Do they still have your New York address or your Florida address? Where do you keep things that are important to you? Right, your wedding album, your family heirlooms, your great grandmother's china, and those are the things that New York looks at to say, well, did you actually move, or did you just go to Florida for 6 months in a day because you don't want to pay us income tax anymore? And so the important thing to remember is, if you're a New York resident, you have to pay state income tax to New York on all of your income wherever you receive it from. If you're not a New York resident and you're a Florida resident, you only have to pay state income tax to New York for income that is derived from the state of New York. And so that's why it's such an important inquiry. New York actually audited Derek Jeter years ago to show you how seriously they take this. He said, I'm a Florida resident because I live in Tampa and I'm there for 6 months in a day, however he had worked it out. And New York said, no, you're on the Yankees, you're in the playoffs and the World Series every year, you're actually in New York for 7 months and you're only in Florida for 5. And New York actually was pretty successful in the case. So to show if they're willing to go after Derek Jeter, they're really willing to go after anybody to avoid losing their tax
So
base.
you would have to show proof of, where your bills are being paid or where your car is registered. I'm sure you'd have to show proof of that to say.
So
you can't lie about it and say, well, no, everything's in Florida.
Well, you want to
prove it.
document it, right? One of the first things you want to move when you move to Florida is make an appointment at the DMV and get your Florida driver's license, get your cars registered, start registering the vote.
Be sure to plan 18 hours.
You want to be able to show exactly that you're here.
Make an appointment.
That you're here and you're legitimately here. You're not just here counting days.
Right.
Yeah, I think the important point out of all of this is establishing Florida residency, super easy. You get an orange and a voter registration card and you show up at the beach, you're a Florida resident. Good enough,
You get
right?
an orange.
The problem is from the New York side. It's tax revenue that they're concerned about.
They don't want to let you go. Right?
Exactly. And so like the
the
story that we hear, like when we got our legal master's degrees in estate planning, the story that we always hear is that there's actually an office in New York where they have a group of people that read the South Florida obituaries.
Oh my God.
And when they see an obituary that says so-and-so, comma, formerly a resident of New York has passed away, it triggers them to then look into seeing what's the value of the estate and all those kinds of things. And so people I don't think have to worry about New York, taxing authorities showing up their house and going, hey, show us the proof you're a Florida resident.
Right.
But when it becomes a problem, the kind of proof that Rob's talking about, if you haven't done that pre-planning, you can have these kinds of tax issues, whether it's a New York state estate tax issue or whether it's a New York income tax issue.
Interesting.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I have a crazy question. Well, maybe it's not so crazy, and I don't even know if there's an easy answer. But if you have someone who is a snowbird, so they are splitting their time between, let's say, New York and Florida, because we have a lot of those here. I actually wish I could be one, but
Me too.
Does it behoove someone, is it better to be a resident of one or the other?
So I'm going to pick up because I think that there's a duality of answers.
Okay.
I want to be really clear on a basic point that I don't think you were necessarily hinting at, but I think it's really important to the people who watch your show. And that has to do with public benefits. When we have a person come to Florida and they say, we need the assistance of public benefits, what's the state of Florida going to give me? Let me be really clear.
And you mean Medicare or Medicaid?
Medicare, Medicaid, but I'm even talking about aid service. I'm talking about any kinds of support services that could or would be funded by the state. They're looking for help. The answer is the state of Florida is going to provide them basically nothing. In the state of New York, there is tons of services that are out there, to the extent that we've had cases where we call them the "we lost Doug" cases because, like the hangover movie, right? Where an elderly person gets stolen to Florida And one of the reasons why we argue to the judge, they really need to go back to New York where they're from, is because the benefits are so much better there.
And how sad, because we have, look at the population down here of seniors needing care.
It's growing and growing by the day. We have
That's sad.
thousands and thousands of people moving here every day.
Yeah. We had a case where the elderly person was getting 24/7 aid service in their brownstone in Brooklyn. They were brought to Florida, and the answer was they would be paying, $15,000, $20,000 a month for aid service because the government was not, the state was not going to pay for any of it.
But New York paid for it.
New York paid for it 100%. And so,
under what
is that
benefit?
crazy? I mean,
like, what is it?
That's what you guys
and
do.
That's what I do.
Crazy. That's crazy.
The answer is that's why we called New York attorneys, in that case, this was years ago, to come in and explain to the court how this was done. She had qualified for Medicaid, and there was some sort of what I would think of some sort of diversion program that was done through the New York State that provided that kind of care.
because down here in most cases, personal care, like home care, like
doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
It'll cover, long-term care insurance and some insurances, but for the most part.
It may be diversion, but we have more people that die on the diversion list than they do that actually get diversion. So I don't think that was necessarily your question about whether it's better to be a New York resident or a Florida resident, but I think that's a consideration people have. Rob can talk a little bit more about
I think there's a lot of considerations. You need to, there's no question for most people from a tax perspective, whether it be income tax or estate tax, Florida's better on paper, right? You're gonna pay less tax. Weather, probably Florida, right? Services, Josh mentioned New York, but there's other factors that people need to consider, which is where do your grandkids live? Do you want to see them 3 times a year, or do you want to see them 3 times a week, right? And so, we have a saying, don't let the tax tail wag the dog, and so taxes are something to consider. Obviously, medical services are something to consider, but you also have to think about what do you want your life to be like? What are you envisioning? Do you want to pick up your grandkids from daycare, or do you want to get up and and walk the beach and FaceTime with them later? And there's no right or wrong answer to that. But people should be thinking about the practical side of it too, not just saving money on taxes. If you just want to save money on taxes, move to Florida. Go ahead.
That goes back to your circle of care, right? So they are another resource to add to your circle of care. But again, you have to look at the big picture and the full picture. And it's not the same for everyone. You have to think about your life, your lifestyle, your kids, your grandkids, your spouse.
And what you can afford and not afford. And can you, if you do move, can you find another job? And can, to sell your house, to move. There's a lot involved.
There's a lot involved.
I would much rather be where my grandkids are and see her 3 times a week versus 3 times a year. But for us to up and move and to go to Ohio right now, that's not even part of, I don't even care about the weather part of it as much. I actually miss the cold a little bit. It's just, can you feasibly do that? Can you financially do that? That's the biggest thing. But again, if somebody needed to get in touch with you because you're all over the place, what's the phone number?
So the best number to reach us at is 866-407-2324. And we're happy to serve as a resource, answer any questions that anybody may have, whether general or specific to themselves.
And any one little snippet of something that you could leave our listeners with, what is one thing that you could tell them that they should be thinking about right now after listening to you?
If you think that there's an issue, if you think you have a problem, start dealing with it as early as possible. When you're dealing with legal issues that apply to the care of elderly, special needs children, any of that, the longer you wait to solve the problem, the costs of it go exponentially higher, the avenues to fix your problem are narrowed, and the ability to get a result that you're happy with is harder. So as soon as you think that there's a problem, good professionals are not going to charge you to consult with them to see if you really have a problem. But the longer you wait, the bigger the problem is, and you've just got to address it as early as possible.
Yeah, it's like getting a pain in your tooth. Get it fixed right away. If you wait too long, now you've got a
root canal
implant that's going to cost you $8,000 versus just go get it. So if there's an issue, take care of it now while it's still.
See a professional.
Yeah,
see a professional.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean these are very susceptible to what I call the neighborhood conversation sort of things. My guy said to do this, and but the thing is that the fact patterns are so specific in terms of the solutions that you need that you've got to consult with professionals, because a slight change in the fact pattern can have a major difference in what the appropriate solution
Yeah,
is.
Your children might be a different age,
Right.
they might be in a different state.
Right.
All kinds of
You owe
things.
it to yourself, you owe it to your family to actually consult with some
Right.
professionals to get some advice that's specific to you and your situation.
With education comes responsibility too. And so even with my tree in the backyard, I ran around to all my neighbors and said, what kind of insurance do you have and what kind of insurance do you? I didn't go to I
Right.
ran around to a bunch of people that really didn't even know the answer to it and wasted a lot of time. So again, if you feel that there's something that needs to be taken care of, it's better to be proactive, save yourself a lot of heartache and a lot of family stress and strain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the main thing, right? I think the early planning, the early work to solve these problems, it preserves the family unit.
Yes.
Because the issue is that when you mix death, dying, special needs, and money, it's an absolute powder keg. And so when you sit down and you have people who are willing to discuss solutions, discuss the problems, both independently with the people that are there to solve them, but also the professionals and the family, then it makes it so that nobody can say, well, I didn't understand why this happened, or I didn't mean to do this. Or if you want to keep your plans private, at least you've had somebody that can put it in place.
Right.
We just had a case where the woman cut out some of the kids because they had done some pretty bad things, but she went to an attorney and drafted an entire affidavit about why she was doing what she did.
Great.
And so what happened is that after there was a problem, unfortunately she had a medical issue, but afterwards the daughter that was saying, well, I'm supposed to take care of everything, there was an affidavit that an attorney had that it was very clear why the mother did what she did. And so had she not done that, had she not anticipated there could be an issue and fix it, this would have been a disaster. And I can tell you that because of that affidavit in that case, it really ended some of the litigation and the costs that otherwise would have just went out of control.
Again, if you are a senior in this picture that we've kind of illustrated here today, please, the best thing you could do for your family and your children is to have these conversations. Make sure that you have sit down with a professional and put all of your wishes and wants and needs down on paper. And if you are the adult child,
I was going to say,
in
or the
this
caregiver,
situation,
and you
or
see
the
sticky
caregiver,
situation, right?
and you know that some of this has not been done,
You've got to
you
sit
have
down with
to
your
do
parents.
it sooner than later, because as we heard today, once they have dementia, once they're past a certain point, they can't make any of these decisions for themselves.
That's right.
Right, and you
And
don't want to
often
deal
they
with
make
litigation.
each other power of attorney or healthcare surrogate, and now they're aged, and now the kids want to step in and do something. They're not ready to let the kids in their mind take their life over. So it's very good. It's
There's
good
a lot
to have
consider.
a conversation when you can still make the decisions that you want, and the family then knows what you want, and they can't wait at the end and go, "Why? I don't know if she wants to stay at home or go into an ALF."
Make sure someone knows what your wishes are, and we've said this before also, it doesn't mean just because you sign a power of attorney that they're going to start making decisions for you today. But it really is important for the whole family and everyone involved to get it done professionally and be open and honest with the professionals. Hey, this is what I want, this is why. Be open and honest with your family. These are tough conversations to have, but having the conversation now will save you so much heartache and possibly litigation later.
And if you're a snowbird, make sure you have what you need to live in both places, or if you're choosing one place over another, or if you're thinking about being a snowbird, know that there are certain things you need to look into. A lot of people are thinking about being snowbirds right now, so there's a lot involved to make sure you have what you need to do this legally and keep yourself safe financially too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we were thrilled to have you.
Thank
you were
you
great.
so
Thank
much,
you.
gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you
appreciate it.
so much for joining us
You
today.
shared so many good points, and always, with our program, we get so many great guests, and often you're going to have questions regarding things that they've talked about. So you are welcome to, you can go right on our Facebook page, right on Instagram. They've also got a phone number. We've got our seniorstrategies.pb Gmail.
At gmail.com.
You can send those questions, then we'll refer them right over to these gentlemen here to make sure that the questions are answered.
If you have questions on anything we've spoken about today, if you have questions on anything you've heard in a past episode, or anything you'd like us to talk about in a future episode, please reach out either via Facebook, Instagram, or Gmail. We always love hearing your ideas and hoping we can answer your questions.
Yeah, and we have, lately, we were able to feature a lot of products. So we had the jelly drops, we had the mosh bars. You may have a product. We are going to be interviewing a gentleman from Calgary, Canada that has an app on the phone that the caregivers can use right now with that app to save things on the phone that will help the person
family.
that's going through dementia or sundowning.
Record
memories, and then once that person passes, they've got those memories forever on a phone. And we're going to have him on in May. So you may have a product that you've heard about or something that's worked really well for you that you would like us to talk about on the show. We're happy to do that too. So just, keep in communication with us, and we'll make sure that our shows are always informative and fun.
And don't forget, we have our monthly in-person support group. This month is Thursday, October 19th at 3 p.m. at Allegro Senior Living in Boynton Beach.
And it's a nice group. Very often we will have a facilitator, which is a clinical licensed social worker that will sit with us, that sometimes has plans to put something together. And very often the group all starts talking to each other, and they all start helping each other solve their own problems. And I'm telling you that they leave on such a high thinking that they did or said something that's going to help somebody else that's going through what they're going through. So,
and once again, our purpose of the show and the support group is for you, the caregiver out there, to know that you're not out there alone. We know that caregiving could be lonely, it could be stressful, it could be frustrating. You're not out there alone. There are resources for you, so please use us as a resource if there's anything you're looking for or think you may need. And hopefully we can laugh along with you as you go through this journey, even as tough as it is.
And one more time, phone number.
Sure, it's 866-407-2324.
Wonderful. And even with you, you're a wealth of knowledge.
Thanks.
You both are. So if there's something that somebody needs where you live, that you have, and what are some of the referral sources that you have?
So I think financial advisors, accountants, people that are in the care industry, right? There's so many different facets to that industry, are all people that we work with, right? Everybody needs to pay taxes. A lot of people need to do planning with their money, and obviously a lot of elder people need care. So those are some of the best referrals.
That's great. And I think that's the biggest part, and that's how we even got the show together, is we met with so many great referral sources in the networking groups that we're in, that it was just a no-brainer to be able to get one program together to invite all these people on, because there's so many people that have no idea. Like, clinics can help. You can get durable medical equipment
you need.
Anything you need. You can dial 211.
Yep.
If you're having any sort of an issue, if a senior is going to be losing their housing.
Senior crisis outreach.
There's a senior. Do you have
hotline.
something like that by you? Some sort of like a senior crisis hotline, or?
There are.
I know 211. I think is all over.
I think it's national.
We have. There are similar hotlines in the Northeast where you can report if you have concerns.
I think the major thing what you're saying is that there's so many resources out there that people just don't know about.
Absolutely.
I mean, the concept of care management is something very simple, but we unfortunately have seen caretakers who get sick or ill or are incapable of providing care because they're sick themselves. And so having people that charge a fairly reasonable rate who can help you get somebody to the doctor, give you some respite, give you some relaxation so that you can provide the stellar care that you were to the person that you care about. It's just so important, and there's so many resources out there. There's elder care professionals, there's Medicaid professionals, there's care management people, there's aid services, there's a million, and a lot of it is time saving. You need to find an ALF. It's better to talk to somebody that's already looked at 25 ALFs than you having to go to 25 different ALFs yourself. So it's a matter of taking down the stress level, helping people, and making sure that they get what they need.
And really, I have to say, caregiving is just such a stressful situation. I just met with a family yesterday, and his wife has Lewy body dementia. So she can't form a sentence, and she gets angry and combative. And he's a sweet husband that wants his wife to be happy.
It's tough.
And with Lewy body, you have the hallucinations. You're cheating on me. There's people in the backyard. There's a dog in the hole in the floor. She gets him up at 2 a.m. saying, the guests are here. Let's make coffee. He is burned out. He's burned out. And I met with him first. He's about this big around. And I said, you know what? As soon as the aide gets here, which the aide got there, I said, you got to get out of here. Go find some. If you have to go and take a nap in the backyard, go to the grocery store.
But there's a lot of people that will say, I didn't know I could leave, right? And it's having the resources.
Or they don't want to leave because they feel like, ooh, I can't leave. I got to make sure the aide does what she wants.
There was just last month a woman in our support group, and that's one of the things we talk about. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? So this woman was in our support group. She had an aide coming in 3 days a week for 6 hours. And she stayed with the aide. I said, what's the point of having the aide if you're still going to stay there?
Because they still want to orchestrate, and there's guilt. There's a little bit of guilt saying, I don't want to put to Publix.
You have to let go of the reins a little bit. You have to let go of the reins a little bit. Done, right? What do they say? Done is better than perfect. It might not have been done the way you wanted it done, but
it's
he's
not.
dressed and he's fed and he's happy.
And you got to go
a
out and
respite.
take a breath of fresh air and go see a movie or take a nap. And again, you can't pour from an empty cup. So what happens, like you said, is the caregiver ends up getting sick. And a lot of time passes before the person that they're caring for.
100%.
Then you have this sweet little woman with Louie body.
And like I said, I think for those of us like you all and us, we know that those resources are out there to help people. And so that's again where I think that having somebody that does what we do, that does it all the time, who knows, okay, this is how you can go about trying to fix your personal problem. The legal issues we can work through, but there are other personal issues that you got to fix, and that's how we give referrals.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. And I think you are just go hand in hand with our logo, which is tools and strategies for the caregiver. And that's the reason that we had these fine gentlemen on, because they gave us a lot of tools and strategies. Again, we want to be there for you too. In 2 weeks, we have another fresh show that's going to be coming up, so be sure to tune in.
And again, if there's anything that we haven't talked about yet that you have questions about or want us to highlight, please reach out to us, Facebook, Instagram, Gmail. We are here. We hope you learned something today, and we hope, if nothing else, you learned that you're not alone.
And that you had fun.
Yes,
so
of course.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. Be sure to listen.
Have a great evening.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us today on Senior Strategies. We hope that you found the tools and the strategies that we offered you beneficial for your journey as a caregiver. We want you to leave today feeling empowered and supported.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for upcoming shows and events. For more information, to schedule a consultation, or to join a support group, please contact us at 561-800-6654.
And remember the strategies
and tools you can use
to make your journey easier.